The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Niccolo Machiavelli. You think you're choosing her, but the truth is, the moment you stepped into her emotional arena, she already knew your next move. Not because she's psychic, not because she's malicious, but because she's mastered something most men have never been taught to see: emotional strategy. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever left a conversation feeling guilty, but you didn't know why? Have you ever apologized for something you never even did? Have you ever found yourself changing plans, habits, or even dreams just to keep the peace? Then you've already felt it. The invisible hands shaping your behavior. The subtle manipulations you can't quite prove, but can't deny. Niccolo Machiavelli understood power better than anyone. He didn't write fairy tales, he wrote blueprints. And one of his most unsettling insights is this: the one who controls perception controls reality. Emotional manipulation isn't a modern phenomenon. It's not even a gendered one. But there's a truth most men ignore. When it comes to emotional strategy, she's often 3 steps ahead. Not because she's smarter, but because she was forced to learn the game earlier, deeper, and in silence. This isn't a video about blame. It's about clarity. About waking up from the story you've been told and seeing the script she never needed to write down. Because while you've been playing for love, she's been playing for influence. And love is just the disguise. You imagine control as loud, as shouting, demanding, throwing plates. But true control whispers. It smiles. It pretends to understand while rearranging your choices quietly. And that's what you've been missing. Her power doesn't come from confrontation. It comes from conditioning. You didn't even notice when it started. Maybe it was when you stopped hanging out with that friend she didn't feel comfortable around. Maybe it was when you hesitated before saying something honest because you knew she'd take it the wrong way. Maybe it was the way your goals started sounding a little too ambitious for the new you. She never told you what to do. She didn't have to, because she knew something you didn't. Most men don't need to be dominated. They just need to be redirected. Slowly, gently, persistently. Machiavelli would call this soft tyranny, not through force, but suggestion. The best manipulation doesn't impose. It invites. And every time you took the invitation, you believed you were choosing it. That's the genius of it. She makes you believe it was your idea. She knows that shame is more powerful than rules. That if she can get you to shame yourself, she doesn't have to correct you. You'll correct yourself. You'll become the prison guard of your own behavior. Most men think manipulation is something that happens to them. That they were played, used, deceived. But the truth is more brutal. You walked into it willingly, because what she offered was irresistible. She offered to see you, not for what you are, but for what you could be. She praised your potential. She mirrored your dreams. She made you feel powerful without having to prove anything. And in return, all she asked for was access to your time, your energy, your decisions. You gave it freely, believing it was love. But it wasn't. It was leverage. And here's what no one wants to admit. Most men are so desperate to be chosen, they never stop to ask why they were chosen. You think she saw your strength. But what if she saw your need to be needed? You weren't seduced, you surrendered. You offered the keys to your mind because she made you feel like a king. But kings don't need validation. Boys do. And she knows how to speak to the boy in you better than you do. Machiavelli would have laughed. He warned rulers to beware the smiling flatterer more than the loud enemy. And yet, you opened the gates to your inner fortress because the smile was sweet enough. She doesn't need to argue, she just needs to be disappointed. That pause after you say something, that sigh, that "it's fine, do whatever you want." Those aren't throwaway lines, they're weapons, blades wrapped in softness. Affection draws you in, guilt holds you there. Silence punishes you when you step out of line. It's not about communication, it's about compliance. You tell yourself she's just emotional, that she's sensitive, that you need to be more understanding. But understand this: emotional expression can be sincere and strategic. She doesn't always plan it. She doesn't have to. It's instinct. Conditioned by years of knowing that emotional withdrawal gets results. You feel the shift. You crave the return to peace, so you give in. Again and again and again. Until one day, you're no longer negotiating, you're performing. Affection, guilt, and silence. That's the cycle. And each time you circle it, you lose a little more of yourself. You were taught that tears meant vulnerability, that crying was honesty, that when she breaks down, it's because she's finally letting you in. Maybe. But maybe tears are the most powerful tool in her arsenal. Not because she's lying, not because she's fake, but because she knows what her tears do to you. They short-circuit your logic. They flip the script. Suddenly, you're the bad guy, even if you were just defending a boundary. She cries. You apologize. She cries. You compromise. She cries. You surrender. This isn't new, it's primal. Evolution wired men to protect women. And when she activates that protector, you stop thinking. You start fixing, but what if she doesn't want to be fixed? What if the crying is the fix? Not for her, for the situation, for the control she needs to reestablish. You think she's reacting. But she's not. She's predicting. Before you finish your sentence, she already knows how to spin it. Before you make a move, she already has the counter. This isn't magic. It's training. Women learn emotional reading like second nature. They scan tone, body language, hesitation. And while you're still trying to find the right words, she's reading what you meant to say. She knows when you're bluffing, when you're hesitating, when you're insecure, and she knows how to time her emotional response for maximum impact. It's chess. And most men are still learning the rules while she's thinking 3 moves ahead. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the prepared, and no one is more emotionally prepared than a woman who's learned how to survive by controlling the emotional climate around her. In the beginning, she was everything. She listened, she supported, she adapted, not because that's who she was, but because that's who you needed. That's the manipulation few men see. She doesn't overpower you, she fulfills you. Perfectly, temporarily. She studies your wounds, your language, your fears, and then she offers the antidote. Her affection, her presence, her understanding, Ines, until you're hooked, and then slowly she changes. But not enough for you to notice. Not suddenly. Just enough that now you're working to keep what used to be given freely. She doesn't need to become a tyrant. She just needs to become essential. Once you depend on her emotionally, you'll tolerate what you once wouldn't. You'll adapt, not because you're weak, but because you don't want to lose the one person who used to make you feel whole. But that version of her was never real. It was a mask tailored to your hunger. You didn't fall all at once, you bent. Then bent a little more. And then one day, you woke up and didn't recognize the man in the mirror. You laugh less, dream smaller, move more carefully. You think you matured, maybe you just shrunk. You used to speak with clarity, now you filter. You used to pursue your mission, now you negotiate it. You think you're being a better partner, a better man. But if being better means being less you, is that really better? Machiavelli warned rulers against being too generous, too trusting, because generosity breeds expectation. Trust invites betrayal. A ruler who forgets his strength soon becomes ruled. And that's you now. Ruled. Not by force, by emotion. You feel it. The fatigue, the frustration, the quiet resentment. You know something's wrong, but you're too deep in the system to name it. You think you're staying for love. But deep down, you know. You're staying because you're afraid of what leaving would reveal about what you became. And that's the final piece of manipulation. The fear of freedom. The fear that after all this time, all these sacrifices, you were never loved. Only used. Machiavelli said it best. Men are driven by either fear or love. But if you must choose, fear is safer. She made you love her, then made you fear losing her. And now you live in the space between. A silent obedience. This isn't about hating women. It's about understanding power. Emotional manipulation is not a female flaw, it's a human tool. But men were never taught to see it, let alone defend against it. You were trained to be strong in body but weak in perception, to lead in business but follow in love. And every time you compromised yourself for comfort, you told the world you could be led. But now you know. Now you see the script, and seeing it is the first step to burning it. You don't need to become cold, just clear. You don't need to dominate, just decide. You don't need revenge, just resurrection. So the next time you feel that knot in your stomach, that hesitation in your voice, that guilt you can't explain, ask yourself one thing. Who's really holding the pen to your story? If it's not you, it's time to take it back. Like this video if it made you think differently. Subscribe if you're ready to reclaim your mind, and watch this next one if you want to understand how men truly regain their power. See you there.